The following is an excerpt from tonight's brand new episode of the Geekvolution Radio Hour, beginning at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Supervillain Network. Tonight, Steve Baxi fills in for Vince as we discuss how pop culture affects people's behavior. Tune in for that and more, and thanks very much for listening. The first thing I wanted to bring up is this whole business about Superman number 41 and Superman's identity being outed. Have you heard about this, Steve?
Yes, I have. It's happening as part of the post-convergence line, and Lois Lane is the one that outs him, and now he's got, like, limited superpowers, and he's just walking around going by Kent as opposed to Clark Kent.
Yeah, so basically the whole story is, what if Superman was both human and had a human name? And I guess just going by Kent is not as human a name as Clark Kent. I'm just saying that, like, what if he was completely human? Like, not even just, lost his powers, but just, okay, now he's just a dude walking around. My big question is there any chance this sticks for any amount of time? It strikes me a lot as kind of the whole Spider-Man One More Day thing, where you've got to, or not even One More Day, but I guess before that, where you've got to come up with some reason to give him his identity back, because who is he without a secret identity? And I just kind of wonder if Superman's going to have that same thing. How long does this go, Steve?
If I'm being extremely generous with DC and the industry, and just with the history we know of these types of situations, I give it a year max. I don't think this lasts longer than that. If they have a direction and a story to tell for it, fine. I think it's legitimately interesting to put Lois Lane in a situation where she has to out someone like Superman. Legitimately interesting for Superman to have the Superman versus Clark Kent identity break and become something different. I think that's an interesting story. But considering that they're spinning this as this big media event, as this whole break in the status quo, considering that from a lot of places and from the way even the writers are talking about it, that it's just a gimmick, I don't think it's going to last very long at all, especially considering next year we got Batman vs. Superman. There's no way DC's going to try to make it too far removed from that film.
Yeah, what are the odds that that's the status quo when that movie comes out?
Yeah.
And it's just like, this Jim Gordon in the Batsuit thing's not going to last all that long either.
Yeah.
Although at least there we have, not to give too much away, but already kind of a built-in fix for it that they can just bring in whenever they want to.
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman is the only outlier in that she can last a while, considering her big change is only a costume. Granted, it's not a very good costume, but at least that can stick for as long as they want it to.
Yeah, it's not great. Well, it's a shame that they're treating it so gimmicky, because, as you said, it's potentially a neat idea. I think it's a neater idea if it's Lois Lane pre-52, given that she and Clark Kent don't really have much of a relationship, and she's kind of, not that I've read everything Superman in 52, but every time I pick up an issue, it kind of feels like Lois Lane is just sort of around because she's always been around, right? Where, like, she's not really a big part of Superman's life, there's not a lot being done with her. What I would do with that story, what I think is potentially interesting about that story is, it's like if you did Death of Superman, but Superman was there for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, you don't have Superman anymore, because you don't have the. Although I guess he's supposed to have some sort of power. There's some mysterious power that he has.
Yeah, John Romita Jr. and Jeff Johns gave him like a brand new superpower, and that's part of the reason he's weak right now, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The thing is, I buy that book and I'm just not caught up on it. I'm like 8 issues behind or something on that book, so I'm not caught up on it. I can't really speak to it right now. But if he's not anything like as powerful as he usually is, it might be really interesting to see what's done with that, because it's like he can't be Superman. He can try to do the right thing and be a good person and help people, but he doesn't have the powers that he does. So it's like if Superman lived in the world without Superman. That's what I like about the idea. There's a part of me that wishes Jeff Johns was writing it.
Yeah, since he's the one that brought him to that status quo, if he's the person that has the vision for the character, he should be the one guiding it. And actually, now that you mentioned Death of Superman, since that's the introduction of Superboy, this is the kind of plot that's dealt with Superboy quite a bit. He's basically Superboy now. And Johns had a great stint on Teen Titans back pre-52, which a lot of people debate whether or not it was great, considering how it contradicts and retreads a lot of what Marv Wolfman and George Perez did. But even granted that, this is kind of a Superboy story. This is something Jeff Johns has done before. He's got the experience to tell it right if he really wants to, and it's a shame that he's not part of it.
It's a great point. I don't know this Yang guy from anything.
Yeah, neither do I.
So the verdict's out. Who knows what it'll be like? But it just seems like a really different, unique place to take Superman and not have A, the guy at the helm that was there that got us there, and B, not a major writer at DC. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just somewhat surprising that they don't have a big name on that.
Although I think it's a good move to give a title character like Superman someone that I'm assuming most people don't know about. So whether it's good or bad, if there's a point in DC's history now where if someone has an idea and they just let them do it regardless of their status or history in comics, for one of the big characters in their company, I think that'd be really interesting and a good way to get more fresh blood in that company. Considering how everyone's got the same house style these days over there, that everyone writes sort of the same way.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot on our channel about editorial mandate and stuff over there, and it seems like they're loosening the reins lately a little bit, and that they're not taking themselves quite as seriously as they were. I've got my reservations about their new rebranding effort and what they're doing post 52, but at least they seem to be allowing people to have more fun now with books like Bizarro and Batmite and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was surprised that those got greenlit. And I'm surprised that they're also not the same kind of crude humor that Harley Quinn is.
They're not?
That there's actually something fun, kind of brave and the bold-esque about those.
Yeah, Batmite was really surprising because it's both not super crude and not a really funny book. Like, Batmite makes quips all the time, but it's like a normal, gritty Batman story with Batmite in the middle of it. It's fascinating.
So kind of like a Rocket Raccoon over at Marvel with Scotty Young.
Yeah, except that is a straight-up horror book. Like, it's kind of a black humor thing. This is just he's in the middle of a thing that's kind of disturbing and not funny disturbing. I was really surprised by it. Now, it might get ridiculous and funny as it goes along, but the setup was like that. Anyway, real briefly, let's go ahead and talk also a little bit about some new Marvel stuff going on. First of all, let's talk about the announcement that Miles Morales is going to be Spider-Man post Secret Wars. Now, I gotta say, I don't know exactly what that means. My assumption is that
it's kind of a confusing announcement.
Say that again.
Sorry, I was just saying it's kind of a confusing announcement. There's not a lot of details given, and we still have a bunch of contradictory rumors as to where Peter Parker is going to be after Secret Wars.
Yeah, I wish that they would just leave it all up in the air until we get to read about it. But I say that all the time, and that's not how we deal with advertising in comics. So whatever. But I think we need to have a wait and see attitude about this and see just exactly what we're doing with Spider-Man. Because first of all, Peter Parker is one of the few characters in Secret Wars that got to go on the extra secret amazing spaceship that somehow or rather survives the implosion of the multiverse. And so in Secret Wars right now, he's one of the few characters that has all of his memories intact. You can't tell me that they didn't do that so that he couldn't mostly keep his status quo intact. I mean, that's got to be why they did that, or at least that was my assumption when I read it. There's only a few characters that they did that with, and it looked really strategic. And it looks like they've done that with characters that stay in a bubble. You know, Iron Man's that way. In fact, both Iron Mans are that way. We've got 616 Tony Stark and Ultimate Tony Stark arguing with each other constantly in the Ultimate End book. So they're just there, and then you've got Spider-Man and Cyclops, and I forget who all. It's probably important to know who they all are, but right now those are the two that spring to mind that were on the space lifeboat thing that survived the apocalypse. And so I have a hard time imagining that Peter Parker isn't gonna be pretty much exactly the way we saw him last in 616 with Dan Slott. He might not be in the spider suit. He might be doing something else. But there's a lot of people jumping back and forth going, is he going to be older? Is he going to be younger? If they completely reinvent him, that's a tease.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to make him keep all of his memories intact, survive the end of the Marvel Universe, it makes all the sense in the world to finally do what we've been trying to do since the 80s and 90s, which is retire him, give him a family, and give him a new perspective. Make him finally grow up a little bit, because he's been through a lot more than anyone his age should be through, especially considering how the maturity level that he's written at varies depending on who's writing. Like Dan Slott still writes him like a teenager, then other people write him like he's a full-blown adult. And now he's in an adult situation. It makes no sense to go back to the teenage days after this, unless you do something where you kill him off, and in the reset universe there's a new Peter Parker.
He's also been de-aged and his age messed with more than anyone I know in real life, Steve.
Yeah, I can say the same. Except I know this guy, I think.
I mean, I know there was that one time that you were possessed by a mad scientist, but by and large, it doesn't tend to happen to people.
No. I mean, I got this friend named Benjamin, I think, Button, and he's kind of got an age issue, so.